Yeah, so I've not watched Colin from Accounts yet, Ghosty. Well, I know with that's a recommendation for them. It's good. It's really do recommend it to the 30 people waiting. Yeah. Is that all right? Can you hear me? Hello and welcome to the Blood Red podcast from the Liverpool Echo. I'm Joe Rimmett, live alongside Paul Gorst. How are we, Paul?
Good, yeah. Midway through the international break now, aren't we? They tend to go on an awful lot longer than normal weeks feel like, but we're getting towards the halfway point. But the worst is yet to come, I think.
Yeah, I always say the September one's the worst one. It's worst, like from a professional point of view, it's probably not the worst because by the time you get through to November and you've done the third of these 3 2-week breaks, you're like the well has run dry.
Yeah.
Whereas, as from a fan's point of view, the first one is the worst one because you're just enjoying the season.
You're just getting into it. Your Saturday morning game.
And then the
kiboshed.
Yeah. So it's a bit of a blow. Theo Squires.
Sorry, just before you introduce Theo. Yeah. But there was a particularly good result to send us off into the international break, wasn't
there was. And to be fair, I wasn't on Monday's podcast, so I'd still like to talk a little bit about United.
Till the cows come home. Nothing else going on.
So if you're on the chat, and you want us to talk more about Man United, please tell us. If you don't want us to talk more about it, please tell us. But we probably will. No, I haven't watched Colin from Accounts. If you were listening before, and watched the first series, it's great. Ghosty's
midway through series
second,
2, yeah,
and it's getting good reviews, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd recommend it. Yeah, it's an Australian comedy, isn't it?
Yeah,
about a couple who get together over a bonding of an injured dog who they sort of adopt, and it's good.
Great.
Would recommend the international break, aren't you?
yeah. Theo's here as well. Theo Squires, how are we?
Yeah, not too bad.
Yeah.
Getting by.
Yeah, and we're live on YouTube. So if you're watching on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up, press the bell, subscribe, drop a comment in the comment section, especially during the international break. Your comments and questions.
Do you think the comment section is going to be as lively as last Friday?
No,
Transfer
deadline day.
Still recovering from some of them.
Quite a lot of stick. Yeah, it was interesting. But if you've got any questions, anything you want us to talk about, drop it in the comments. It is a massive help during these international break ones, and love to hear from you. If you listen on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please give us a review. Either a few comments, leave us some stars, press subscribe button, or tell a friend. It really helps. And we appreciate your support. Before we start, a big shout out to our sponsor NordVPN, who help us do what we do. I have my VPN switched on my phone at all times now. I just think it's that extra layer of security when you live your life on your phone, which we all do now, which goes a long way. So fully recommend it.
I'll be using it in Singapore to keep an eye on Liverpool results from afar.
Yeah,
watch the highlights.
Yeah, you're off to the Grand Prix, aren't you?
Yeah, did not know this.
A couple of weeks.
Interesting. That'll be good.
Well, Nord will be your best friend over there, and Lizzie as well. But
yeah.
So to get the best discount off your NordVPN plan, go to nordvpn.com/bloodred, and our link gives you 4 months extra free on a 2-year plan. There's no risk at all with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee, and the link will be in the podcast episode description box. Thank you, Nord. Let's crack on. We'll start with a bit of a natter about Mohamed Salah's contract. Ghosty, you brought a piece yesterday essentially saying Salah is desperate to stay at Liverpool, and if Liverpool can make that happen, he'd be a happy man. So give us a bit more background, a bit more info on Salah's feelings, thoughts, and where you think that's at.
Yeah, well, he spoke to Daniel Sturridge, didn't he, after the game on Sunday, and when it first happened, I was at Old Trafford and someone texted me saying, Salah's just said he's leaving at the end of the season then. Really? Wow, like that's quite the revelation. And I think me and you had a little back and forth about it, didn't we? And it turns out, he said, as you know, this is my final year at the club. And so I was seeing the words sort of written down, but it was only when I was in the Old Trafford mix zone waiting for one of the players to come through that I had a chance to watch it back. And he almost says it as like a bit of a matter of fact, as you know, it's been last year in the club because he's in the final year of his contract. So some have sort of suggested that was maybe a little bit of a shot across the bows to the club's owners or to the club themselves to maybe press on with sorting a new contract. And just sort of speaking to people in the days since across various avenues, people who know Salah personally, and as like I say, various different avenues of the Mo Salah sort of sphere, if you like. It seems as though the one message that keeps coming back is that he is very keen to stay, very keen to continue his association with Liverpool. And it seems as though that Saudi Arabian sort of carrot that was dangled at him last summer has become less enticing, really. I think one of the things that was communicated was that Sadio Mane's sort of, trials and tribulations out there have been taken into account. The low crowds, the fact that it's not really one of the leading leagues of world football, and it's taken it all into account. And actually, it seems as though at the moment he is very keen to stay, and he feels like he can contribute for a number of years. Yeah, and we know the sort of nick that he keeps himself in. He's absolutely an unbelievable athlete, isn't he? Yeah. Maybe slightly slowed down over the years, but he's
adapted his game though, hasn't he?
Massively. Yeah. He's strong as an ox, isn't he? He's not huge, physically imposing, but he's very strong. Not many fullbacks get the better of him in sort of one-on-one duels, as Arne Slot might say. And to be fair, I think that the decision to swerve the Olympic Games with Egypt in favour of a full pre-season schedule under Slot is paying massive dividends for him and for Liverpool. So yeah, it seems though he is really keen to stay for a number of years yet, and that should be music to Liverpool's ears. And I think now the ball is very much in their court to speak to Rami Abbas, the agent of Salah, and come to an agreement that sees him, staying at the club and continuing to post these sorts of remarkable numbers, really.
Yeah, I mean, Salah's always been a bit of an enigma to all of us. He doesn't speak much to the media. He isn't somebody who shows you a big part of his life on social media. He isn't that type of player. But I get the feeling, Theo, in the last couple of seasons at least, that he's opened up a little bit more, that we're starting to see he seems happy, he seems content, and he seems desperate to sort of break as many records as possible, not just in football, but certainly at Liverpool. Do you get that vibe from him? I get the vibe that he's enjoying life under Arne Slot as well. He seemed to come out and do that interview the other day, and I know he said certain things that might have worried people, but as Gorsty said, I just took it as he was just kind of talking matter of fact. But in terms of Liverpool's style of play, his part in the team, his role at the club, he seems pretty happy. I can't imagine many places he would want to go to.
Yeah, he's definitely matured as a player, hasn't he? Like, we think earlier on in his Liverpool career, he didn't sulk, but he could be a bit frustrated at times, couldn't he, if it wasn't quite going from on the pitch. But he's just got a massive smile on his face at the moment, and he's enjoying being a leader in that camp. Arne Slot's come out and said that part of their style is to be getting the best out of Mohamed Salah, and we've certainly seen that during the opening weeks of the season, where he's second in the goal scoring charts, second in the assist charts, and it is just looking like business as usual. End of last season, he has the injury, and you get the normal doubts of, is this the start of that natural decline? And he's just made a mockery of that completely. It's like, as long as he's doing this, you keep him at the club. He is one of the best players in the world, and if he wants to stay at your club, you do what you can to keep him there. Yeah, it is a big wage he'll be demanding. We'll wait and see if he wants a pay rise or if it is just happy to carry on what he's getting. But that is incentivised. It comes with the goal of bonuses. It comes with the assist bonuses. And when he's returning the numbers, you can't dispute that. And I think when he signed that last contract, it provided that little bit of relaxation to him as well. Like, he knew he'd got that contract that was deserving of the status, what he'd achieved at the club. And he could just take it to another level in terms of the numbers he produces. He is that star man. He is the one who's outlasted Sadio Mane. He's outlasted Roberto Firmino. And he's still doing it now. Like, if Liverpool have got 6 amazing forward options, and you're still saying it's 5 and Salah. It's not a case of taking him out because he's not doing it anymore. He's just an incredible athlete, and you wouldn't have any qualms with him carrying on, getting another contract. He's going to be doing this for another 2-3 years easily, isn't he? He's like,
you would think so. I mean, what's the most he can sort of decline? It's from 25 goals a season to 20. I can't imagine it's going to be too much.
And also as well, players are playing for longer now, aren't they, than they used to sort of 15, 20 years ago, where once you got to 32, you were maybe looking at winding up 32, 33, 34. But, you know, look at Cristiano Ronaldo was still scoring goals in the Premier League for Manchester United 18 months ago. And what is he now, 39? Lionel Messi was 35 or 36, I think, when he wins the World Cup with Argentina. You know, these are the sorts of players who Mo Salah will sort of judge himself against and think, well, if these are still doing it at this age, why can't I? Keeps himself in an incredible nick, like I say, you know, all of these sorts of Instagram mirror selfies that he's posting, and he's got
daily at the moment, pretty much. Yeah,
he's got his abs out, and just to sort of hammer home the point that he is, you know, a physical phenomenon. Really, he finished top in all the sorts of running tests, didn't he, when he come back to the Access Centre, and you know, imagine that there would have been a few there at training who were 10 years younger than Mo, maybe 10, 12 years younger, who might have fancied pipping him to that title, but he came in, he retained his crown from the year previous when he was doing the lactate tests. So, yeah, he's showing no signs of slowing down anytime yet, and we know that Liverpool are guided by the data, but other than data that says that he's going to be 33 in June next year, everything else was pointing towards a player who is very much looking as sharp as he probably ever has. And also as well, he appears happier. Yeah. Just seeing him sort of during games, you know, walking past us in the mix zone, giving us the sort of textbook, trademark, polite declining as he does. He just seems as though he's very happy at the moment, and that was very different to sort of back end of last season when he had the hamstring issue, and then he has to fall out with Klopp on the pitch, and he was unfit, he was unhappy, and now it just seems very different.
It felt like 2 years ago when he signed his deal. It was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
When he signed his deal, it felt like Salah and his agent held all the cards. You know, there was obviously clear interest from Saudi Arabia coming. You would have thought someone like Real Madrid would have been sniffing around. I don't necessarily feel. Obviously, there'll be a long list of suitors for Salah should he depart Liverpool, but not necessarily a long list of suitors that would suit Mo Salah. I mean, Madrid, you don't know whether they're going to come back around, especially now they've committed funds for Mbappe, who will be on eye-watering money there. Saudi Arabia would always come back on the scene, but it doesn't necessarily look as attractive now, does it? As it
more
did.
like a Barcelona if they can somehow make room on the wage bill because they're a bit desperate.
Exactly, but then they're not. Obviously, Barcelona will always hold huge sway for many players, but they're not exactly a club that you want to go to and be settled and get.
I think with Saudi, you look at who's gone this summer compared to 12 months ago, where they were getting Neymar and Sadio Mane, and they were getting stars from pretty much every area of European football. Where this year it's not quite as pronounced. I can't really think of too many who've gone there. I think Moussa Diaby went there from Aston Villa, didn't he? And that was maybe a little bit of a surprise, but there are not too many world stars who've gone there this summer on the back of seeing the way it's gone, really, with, you know, small numbers. You know, Jordan Henderson was playing in front of crowds of 2,000, 3,000, wasn't he?
It was less than that at times.
Yeah, as a fact. And I think it's a little bit different when the likes of Al Ittihad play, because they're the champions and they've got, you know, bigger crowds, and Ronaldo's team, who is Al Nassr, isn't it? But generally it's a league that doesn't have the crowds, I mean, doesn't have the quality, doesn't have the intensity. The only thing it does have really is the finances, the money to pay these players king's ransoms. And
to me, if you go there, it signposts my top level career is done. I'm ready to embark on a different, like when you go to America. You know, I think when Lionel Messi went to America, it's because he conceded that he wasn't really going to be challenging for big things in Europe anymore. I mean, maybe that sounds harsh, but I certainly feel like it's the sort of thing you do 2 years at the end of your career, not when Salah is now, where he's still operating at the highest level. He's still playing very, very well. I really like the way he's managed to change his style into his passing. He's less individualist. I can't say the word. He's less of an individual as he used to be when he first joined Liverpool, when he was very much, I want to score another one, and dribbling a lot with the ball. For me now, he seems to be able to take it, hold it, give it, and bring others into play, as well as finding those areas of space. And he just seems to be a happier character as part of the team. I think he enjoys maybe being more, and I've said this on a few pods, when the likes of Henderson moved on, more of a leader at Liverpool. Yeah,
100%. Yeah, well, I wouldn't disagree with that at all. I seen a compilation yesterday of what should have been Mo Salah assists last season, and some of the passes he's playing to Diaz and Nunes and whoever else it was, Jota, they are defence splitting razor sharp passes, and that is an area of his game that he's massively improved as he's changed and adapted. He's not the one, like you say, where he's running at defenders and twisting and turning them. He still can do that at times when he gets isolated 1v1 with fullbacks, but he is hugely adapted in recent years. And you're looking at it now, and I still think he's got 4 years at least at this sort of level. And certainly until he's 35, 36, where you're questioning maybe now you'll start to see a decline, just because of how dedicated he is, how uber professional he is. And I think if you asked the Liverpool squad who's the most professional player you've ever seen, I think in terms of looking after themselves, mentally, physically, I think they probably say Mo Salah, just because of how we know that he prepares for games and how serious he takes it all.
Yeah, I mean, I said before, I thought Salah held all the cards a couple of years ago. Maybe Liverpool holds some more now, but it's still a difficult contract to agree, isn't it, Theo? In the sense that clubs are always understandably cautious about offering big terms for players into their 30s because the decline can come quickly, I suppose. But as Gorsty said, they'll surely be looking at the data. There can't be many players that could operate in this Liverpool team like Salah can. I'm sure if you switched him for many other players now, they wouldn't post the numbers that Salah posts. So it will be difficult for Liverpool to find the right numbers for Salah, won't it? I'm sure there's willingness on all parties to do a deal. I'm sure in an ideal world, Liverpool would love him to stay on. It's whether everyone can stay on numbers that he expects and Liverpool want to give, isn't it?
Yeah, it complicates it that they're also going to be negotiating for Van Dijk and Trent, because Trent, he's going to be on high earner status now, isn't he? He's coming into those peak years. When they were doing the last round of extensions, he was given a year less than the likes of Robertson. And that's partly because he was younger, because he's going to need a bigger hike when he gets to this stage of his career. So if you want to keep Trent, can they afford to keep them all on these massive wages? It's a tough one, because they have had a lot of players go, so they have made room on the wage bill, but at the same time, when they were negotiating before for Salah and they gave him the highest contract in Liverpool's history, they lost Sadio Mane and they weren't really too happy to keep Firmino. Like, there was a lot of back and forth there before Firmino said, you know what, I'm going to go elsewhere. So it's whether they can make room for it, and you've still got to take into account the players coming through, like Krantz and Bradley. They're going to be due pay rises if they carry on like this. The likes of Diaz, if he has a really good season, he stays, he could be wanting an improved contract. Just so many, and that's what, like, Gakpo's still young, Nunes is still young. If Liverpool are doing well on the pitch, competing for the Champions League, the Premier League, the whole wage bill goes up across the board. And then you've got to weigh up, well, you still want to do your succession planning. You still want your long-term successor for Mohamed Salah. Is it Chiesa? Is he just a cut price one who you think can be first choice for 4 years if Salah does go? Or is there someone else you're going to have your eye on in the market in 12 months' time if he leaves, or 2 years' time if he leaves? It's about spinning all these plates and making the right decision for the club. Salah is the best right-sided forward in world football at the moment. He has been pretty much ever since he joined Liverpool. There is no one who is coming in and replicating that level at that level he joined. It will take time to get there, and you've got to build those relationships with the team. So that's such a challenge to replace him. So if he's just doing it, keep him there. But it's about making it work financially as well, because it's not about one player. It's about getting the best out of the entire team. Look, I will say, with Liverpool, when I interviewed Ian Graham last month ahead of his book coming out, he admitted that when Salah's last contract was coming up, he was looking at the data and he went into it expecting to say, now is the time to sell. He's going to start declining. This is the moment where we get maximum money. But he was surprised to find out that actually he's still going to be doing this for another couple of years yet. We've seen that the last couple of years. It's whether he now can push on and do it again for another 2 years. And that's what all the data boys at Liverpool will be weighing up, along with the finances and then the succession planning with a look at everyone else in the squad.
I suppose the other part of this is they're not going to get money for Salah.
Not now.
Obviously they will save money, but they're not going to get money for Salah. I think I look at it, the other issue, Gorst, is you're going into next summer. Theo's just touched on it. Surely there's going to be work to do in other areas of the team. Surely you don't want to be having to replace that whole.
Yeah.
You certainly don't want to replace all three of those players. So hopefully they can come to an agreement with at least a couple of them. But if you're trying to replace Salah, it's always going to be one of the most difficult players that you're going to replace, full stop, when he does depart, retire, whatever.
How did Liverpool replace Kenny Dalglish? How did he replace Steven Gerrard? Effectively, I mean, in Gerrard's case, they just kept him on, and then performances naturally declined as he got older, and then they sort of waved him off to LA Galaxy, didn't he? It's like a bit of a, let's go and give him a, we wanted to try that out. I don't think Liverpool can countenance losing Mo Salah, really. Certainly not this version of Mo Salah, where he's going to be guaranteeing you 20, 25 goals a season, isn't he? He's been, has he scored 20 goals or more for 7 successive seasons? Been Liverpool's top scorer every year since he joined. I actually don't think Liverpool can really think about succession planning here. I think they've got to get round the table with the representatives, come to whatever agreement it is that suits them from a financial point of view. There should be the wriggle room there, given that the players who've left in the last 12 months or so. Firmino, Milner, Henderson, Thiago, Matip. These are all big earners, weren't they? And obviously players have come in, but, McAllister, Gravenberch, Szoboszlai, probably not coming in on the sort of wages that Jordan Henderson was at, for example. Or
you would think that they will work their way up to that, won't you?
Yeah, it tends to be the case, doesn't it? Diogo Jota's the model to follow for that, really, where he comes on a certain amount of wage, proves himself, signs a couple more extensions and starts earning more money. So the wages thing shouldn't really be too much of an issue. I couldn't really see him taking a pay cut, but how much of an increase are Liverpool prepared to give is probably the sticking point at this stage, because I don't think it's a case of fearing, it shouldn't be anyway, fearing that he's going to fall off a cliff, because the early indications are he won't. And okay, injuries can happen to any player, but he's probably had a handful of injuries, has he, in his Liverpool career? Sergio Ramos takes him down. I think he had a concussion once, did he? And obviously
with that, didn't
he? The hamstring, which he gets in the Ivory Coast when he's on Egypt duty. So I think John Aldridge summed it up best actually on Monday when he said, FSG are playing. What did he say? They're playing a game of poker with a player who's got a royal flush.
Yeah. They will have been stung though by that injury last year. I know it's the first long one he's had, but seeing the Liverpool side without Mohamed Salah for a couple of months, there is that warning sign there of, is he going to start picking up a couple more injuries? Can we give him these wages if we can't rely on them for 6 weeks, 2 months? And if they think, yeah, we can, you've still got to wait into the AFCON is coming up in the next cycle of a contract. And last time he went to AFCON, he deteriorated after it. The AFCON before, he did exactly the same. So do you counter those 3 months in where you're not going to get the best out of Mohamed Salah, relying him to do what he's done this summer, have a good pre-season, really put the work in and then get back to it and play that longer game? It's just how long they think he can keep on going at that level. And at some point, do all injuries come in, or was it just a freakish one last year?
Yeah.
The way with the
Egypt. I actually don't think the injury he got last season was as damaging as it sort of looked at. I think if you look back, he was out for a few weeks, wasn't he? And then Liverpool took the decision to sort of blood him back into it gently. I remember someone suggesting to me, I think he missed the Luton game, was it? That if that would have been the final game of the season, he would have been played in it, and it was just a case of trying to make sure that he wasn't burnt out for the next few weeks down the line when it was time to get down to really nitty gritty in the title race. And I think it was a bit unlucky in that his return to action coincides with a tail off from the team in general. So many other injuries across the board were starting to really make themselves known to so many players, and Salah was a part of that. But I don't think it was a case of him being way off the pace and everything else being, as it was prior to that injury.
I think you're right, and I think as well, when a player like Salah sets such high standards in the first place, you zone in, don't you, on a sort of like a drop off and make a lot more of it than it actually is. I mean, just a very simple look at his goals return. He scored 25 goals last year, 18 in the Premier League. So that is his fewest goals in the Premier League in any one season at Liverpool, only by a goal. The year before was 19.
That's always surprised me. That stat that he scored the fewest number of goals the season Liverpool won the league by 18 points. Yeah.
That's because he didn't really do much though when they came back, did he, after the pandemic? That completely kills the rhythm for a lot of them. And then they'd already won it with so many games to spare.
7 games to play,
But if any other team has got a player that is posting around an average of 25 to 30 goals a season in all competitions every season, you never have a conversation about a drop off. But with Salah, I mean, I almost felt like this from the moment he came in, because he scored 44 goals in his first season. It was like the second season where he's had a drop off.
Remember the second season? He's not scored for 3 games.
Yeah,
Massive crisis.
And it was incredible how quickly people applied those standards across the board. And even now, I feel like, again, you look at clubs. Look at Chelsea, for example. They're a team who are looking desperately for regular goal scorers and have spending a lot of money, changing a lot of players every year, and can't really find them. Liverpool have one, and we sort of, we nitpick around. He's gone several games without a goal, or he's not quite as influential. I mean, he's still Liverpool's top goal scorer last season. He's still probably Liverpool's star man last season. Really, you take Van Dijk had a very good season, but he's still. You look at the big games, he still performs in the big games, scores in the big games. So for me, I just don't see, is he as good as he was when he first came in? No, but that's natural. And it's the same with Van Dijk. I look at Van Dijk and think, again, he was a player who came in and set such incredibly high standards. There was immediately like a conversation a couple of years later when people were like, oh, look, he's dropped off. And you think, well, he's getting older. He's never going to be as good as he was when he first came in. But you still think of the standard. And clubs like, again, to go back to Chelsea or Man United, search high and low, spend millions and millions of pounds looking for players that set the standards that these two set right now. Yeah. So for me, I just don't have any. When you look at a Liverpool team sheet, the last players you worry about is Mohamed Salah or Virgil van Dijk. It's the same with Trent. Trent, I think, suffers from that. Trent makes one defensive mistake, and the whole country seems to talk about it, where other players seem to get away with it week in, week out. So I just think it's the standards that these players have set for such a long time.
Imagine, put it this way, when Paul Gorst's piece comes out yesterday, we all read it and you think, phew, that's a relief.
Yeah, exactly.
That's one hurdle overcome. Yeah. Now it's on the club to resolve it.
Yeah. I really enjoy watching Salah at the moment because he seems like a guy enjoying his football. And there was always that suspicion in the back of my mind a few years back that, he's good for Liverpool, but he wouldn't mind being Real Madrid's star man, whereas I think we've got past that now. And I feel like I look at a player who wants to, he's what, 5th or 6th on Liverpool's all-time goal-scoring chart, and he can probably get to 4th at least. I think Billy Liddell's next. And it's about Billy Liddell.
These are the players you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's the same for.
He's about 20 goals behind him.
Prem and Champions League, isn't it?
He can go into the top 5 in the Premier League if he gets 28 this season. So he's still 25 away, but
and Champions League, his next one would make him the highest scoring African in the tournament's history.
Yeah.
Because he's already level with Drogba, and he's never going to really overtake Ronaldo, Messi, Lewandowski, but he could be top 5 in Champions League. A couple of years there.
Yeah.
And you look at it, Liverpool are probably his best chance of winning the Premier League again, winning the Champions League again, and getting back on that Ballon d'Or list. Yeah. If he can have it.
Why can't he be on there? I mean, that's the other thing about...
Modric won it late, Benzema won it late.
That's the other reason why.
Yeah.
Actually, that's a good example, isn't it?
36, didn't he, Benzema?
Yeah.
Lewandowski as well, didn't they? They're all in their 30s.
Yeah, a team that has won many big things with a lot older players. It's another example that, players
playing for longer.
If they keep themselves fit, they can still be influential. And all those players have adapted their game as well. Modric is a slightly different player, isn't he, now to what he was when I remember him at Tottenham or when he first went to Real Madrid. But like you say, Salah, I think if he goes to Saudi Arabia, I think it'd be a shame because I think he could still win the Ballon d'Or. He could still win another Champions League. He could still win another Premier League. He's, by the way, in the goal scoring charts, he's 5th.
Is that the Liverpool ones?
Yeah. Billy Liddell scored 228 goals. Salah scored 214, so he's not far behind that. And
he'll overpass him. Yeah.
The next one's Gordon Hodgson on 241. If Salah stays 2 more years, you'd expect him to get past that. And then it's Roger Hunt on 285, which is a jump again. But
he's not going to take Rush, but he could get Hunt with another contract.
He could, So Salah's the type of guy that would take that as a challenge, wouldn't he?
Well, the thing with the Rush one is, Rush has said a few times that Salah's always sort of telling him, "I'm coming for your record." Like they have a little bit of a.
They're
laugh
quite close, aren't they?
Yeah, they're good friends. Yeah. But they have a little bit of a laugh and a joke about it by all accounts. But there's always that little bit of, some truth said in jest, and you think Salah does maybe think he can get close to Ian Rush's record. Don't think he will, but I'm sure he'll have a good go of it. And in the meantime, he'll move further up the rankings. And I think, like I say, you mentioned that piece at the start of us talking about Salah, Joe. I think one of the things that was sort of told was this is Mo's way now of sort of laying his cards out on the table and saying, well, man, staying here, and what have you got? What have you got up your sleeve?
Yeah. Gut feeling. Then I'm going to put you on the spot. Gut feeling. Do you think he stays?
Yeah.
Theo?
Yeah, I wouldn't have said that last weekend, but after Gorsty's piece and actually watching the interview at Sky, everyone's had an opinion. So many pundits have come out and said what they think, and everyone's got a difference of opinion. But if you can make the finances work, I think all three of them stay.
Yeah.
And we've seen some suggestions today from some particularly well-followed journalists on Twitter that there's going to be some talks of the club sitting down with Salah. So we'll see. Yeah,
we will. Moving on slightly, it's not every day that Liverpool transfer a young player and get John Terry talking, but they did this week, didn't they? John Terry wasn't. Well, he said some nice, gracious things, but he wasn't too happy to see Chelsea lose Rio Naguma. Is that right? I'm sorry if I butchered that, but
do you know what? I did learn how to pronounce this kid's name, and then because it sort of went quiet, I forgot. Rio Ngumoa.
Ngumoa. Okay.
I'm not going to be able to repeat that. You're going to have to say that a few times for me to pick up on it.
Just call him Rio. I'm sure he'll. I mean, it doesn't mind that.
He's a player, isn't he? That
he had Rio on the shirt, didn't he? For the promotional pitch. Yeah, we'll go Rio for now.
Yeah, very, very highly rated. Is this, again, we sat here on the podcast last week on transfer deadline day, taking a lot of stick for Liverpool's lack of business this summer, but is this where Liverpool benefit a little bit from perhaps taking the totally opposite approach to Chelsea, that players perhaps in the youth ranks at Chelsea and other clubs who have a similar model might start looking at it and thinking, well, if I go to a club like Liverpool, I'll get chances. And at worst, we'll forge a good career in football, even if it's not a Liverpool. But I'll certainly be able to play for their first team. Whereas at Chelsea, that...
100%, yeah. Like we spoke last week about Chelsea and Liverpool being sort of polar opposites on the transfer spectrum, didn't we? And we said Liverpool don't need to be like Chelsea. They don't even need to really meet in the middle ground between those two clubs. It's more just maybe the middle of the middle ground where they let loose of the reins a little bit when they need one or two players coming in, and we've spoke about that till the cows come home. But yeah, on the flip side, this is the benefits of it, isn't it? Being able to essentially poach one of the brightest young players at Chelsea to come to Liverpool because of the pathways that will be open to you at Liverpool that aren't at Chelsea. And yeah, I think Secret Scout, who's a Twitter account who is very much abreast of the developments in youth football, I think they called him one of the best young wingers in Europe yesterday. And they're not an account that does hyperbole or shouts for the sake of things on social media. So that was very high praise indeed. I was speaking to someone yesterday who said that Chelsea perhaps didn't help themselves if they did want to keep, Rio and Ngumoa. I think they left them on the bench for the Under-17 Premier League Cup final at Wolves, which they won 3-1. He come off the bench and scored a volley and that one to make it 3-1. So he's answered, if he was frustrated by that, he's answered that in the right way. And yeah, I haven't seen too much of him, but he looks to be a real sort of archetypal right-footed left winger, doesn't he? Cutting off the sides, plenty of skill and pace, trickery, movement, and Liverpool feel as though they've got themselves a player who could be a real valuable contributor in the coming years. They will, of course, take the time with him, and there will be no rush and no pressure placed on him. But in a summer where you've seen Trey Ione move up the pecking order considerably through what he's been able to do out on tour, what he's done training with the seniors, caught the eye of Arne Slot, I think this is one that is going to be a real interesting one to keep an eye on, and he could make his debut for the under-18s against Blackburn, and then the day Liverpool play Forest, actually, the 14th of September. So, yeah, I'm sure we'll be glued to LFC TV if we can't get down to Kirby before that game and see how he gets on. And I don't want to big him up too much because he's essentially a boy, isn't he? But
only turned 16 last week.
Yeah, he's had the guided tour of Anfield. He's had the pictures taken at the training ground when he signed his contract. Yeah. Not officially, it's all sort of done on his social media, but yeah, you get the feeling that Liverpool feel that they do have something on their hands in this kid.
And we've seen it before, and we feel that Liverpool will quite quickly open up a pathway if they think someone's good. They get rewarded at Liverpool. They don't sort of languish, do they? They can move quite quickly into the first team picture.
Yeah, they can. Like, you only need to look back to last couple of years. Well, Ben Doak signs in the summer, makes his debut in November, Stefan Bajcetic with a year, bit more longer than that. Bobby Clark was similar. Cade Gordon only had to wait a few months when he joined from Derby to make his debut against Norwich, I think, in the League Cup. If these players make an impression in training, they do tend to get fast-tracked quite quickly. And it doesn't necessarily matter that they've missed pre-season. Obviously, Bajcetic took those steps to get his first team chance a couple of years ago, having impressed in pre-season. Treyarch has done that now. But if you're just doing it at the academy, you can really work your way up quickly. Like Ben Doak went in with the under-18s, was scoring some incredible goals, then did it in the Youth League for the under-19s, which Rio will have the opportunity to do because Liverpool are back in that this year. Then he's in the 21s, then he's playing in the Football League trophy against Accrington Stanley, scoring in that, and then he's in the first team. So, like we've seen Rio, he's training with the under-21s this week, along with Federico Chiesa. You could almost say maybe he's already been fast-tracked, but then you've also got the caveat of it is the international break. Not all the youth players are there, so maybe they are going to have to join the group together to get the numbers. So it wouldn't be a slant on him if he's back with the 18s for the Blackburn game. But a couple of months, you'd like to think he's played for the 19s, he's played for the 21s. Might be a bit early to say, he's going to be involved against West Ham in the League Cup for a first-team debut, but he's certainly one to watch this season, and the pathway's bright for him because so many players have gone on that route, shown what they can do, and they've been rewarded. Might be a new manager, but if you're good enough, Liverpool will give you the chance.
And that's a benefit, isn't it, Gorsty, of having someone in position. In the past, it was Matos, before him, Linders, but now it's Aaron Briggs. Liverpool make sure that they have that joined-up approach, don't they, by having that position?
Yeah, I mean, the appointment of Matos has sort of laid the blueprint, hasn't it? You know, not somebody who people knew loads about, but certainly behind the scenes, he was vitally important to keeping an eye on the best of the amazing groups, the 21s, the 18s, and Aaron Briggs is going to do similar this season, we believe. It's a different job title, but essentially it's a very similar role in terms of watching the age groups and seeing it was emerging. And yeah, Gumo was with the 21s yesterday, wasn't he, with Chiesa? That's a bit of a strange sort of combo, isn't it? You know, joining training, and we've seen clips of them yesterday, and
Be on the wings together, weren't they, in 4 years' time?
Yeah. I mean, there was one clip of Nguemo, wasn't there, where he does about 6 step overs, beats his marker, gets a shot away, and it's the post, and you can just see in that little clip what he's all about. Yeah. You know, very direct, skillful winger, and those are the sorts of players that you can get excited about at youth level because you can immediately see what the talent is, as opposed to maybe a midfielder who's a bit more neat and tidy on the ball and has a bit of development to go. So yeah, want to very much keep an eye on this season, and I guess with all the loans, Ben Doak, Cade Gordon, Lewis Kumas, I guess Barry Lutus will need some quality in that 21 setup at some stage, so he might even be pushed further forward up the pecking order.
Yeah, we'll have an answer in a minute about Slot and that Man United game, but just looking at the comments, loads of good comments coming in. Thanks very much. And if you've got any more questions, please do put them in the comment section now. A lot of chatter about contracts, which I think we've covered off quite a bit. We've got one question though, which it's a shame he's not here. We'll put it to him when he's on the next pod. But Paul asks, is there any chance of a shout out for Doyley's band? They keep getting mentioned, but I've no idea what they're called or where to find them on social media.
Yes.
They're called Finch.
Are
they on social media? Can you find them on
social media? But they are called Finch because of the area that they're all from in St Helens. Here's Finch. Doyley is the baseman.
Yeah.
And by all accounts, they are emerging on the scene in St Helens, shall we say. I've yet to see them live. I couldn't make it to the last gig, sadly. But
was that the one before the friendlies?
The day before the Sevilla friendly, was it? Yeah. But yeah, I'm hoping to get to the next one and see what they're all about.
Can we get the Christmas kitty together and get them hired for that?
Get him.
Yeah, entertainment.
We'll speak to Doyley on the next pod. We will grill him on Finch, and we'll
this is
see
what
if
the
there's
international
any.
breaks for, isn't
Yeah, we'll see if there's any social media videos that you can watch. He sent me a set list once, which was quite good. There's some quite good songs on there. Everything from like Oasis to Tom Petty.
So if you didn't get Oasis tickets, go and see Finch.
Go and see Finch. Yeah. So there you go. So we'll definitely put that to Doyley on the next pod. Arne Slot, 3 games in, 3 wins. Jay Williams says, do you think Slot's being too open about his tactics to the media? I just think that's a modern thing. I think a lot of managers talk tactics to the media now, and especially. I mean, we're going to talk Slot. 3 games in, 3 wins. You guys have seen more of him than me behind the scenes, but just looking from the outside in, I like the way he carries himself I like his confidence. He's got that Dutch swagger. But, he's backing it up with results. The players seem to like him. It just seems to be, and again, if you go back to the United game where Liverpool have won that game, there's been some big debates afterwards between Neville and Carragher about managers and Man United's decision to stick with Ten Hag, Liverpool's decision to go after Slot. It looks increasingly like a very good appointment, doesn't it?
Yeah, I don't agree with this idea that he's given too much away, state secrets to Sky and stuff. Any top-class analyst will be able to watch Liverpool and figure out what they're doing during games. Stopping it is another matter altogether, isn't it?
Yeah.
So,
and he will adapt that again. That was one thing he noticed about
United.
United.
Liverpool, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. He said basically he kept the wingers high, so the United fullbacks pushed on, and they had the bravery to keep them high, so they felt they could win it back and then really punish United, which is what they did with all 3 goals, really.
If anything, it could hurt United to go forward more.
Yeah, he almost set the blueprint. We've just walloped these at Old Trafford. do this next week, and you'll do the same.
Who have United got next? If they do something similar,
I'm not sure, but
it's Southampton away, I think.
Yeah, he does seem to come alive when you ask him about tactical things, and sometimes that doesn't always make for the most explosive headlines or the best copy. But if you're into your tactics and that sort of stuff, you can listen to him all day. And he's very different to Klopp. He's become a little bit of a contrarian, I find, where I could say to him, Arne, that this sign's red, isn't it? And he'd go, I don't know, there's a bit of shade of purple in that. And he sort of argues the point of whatever you say, which is interesting, really. I might say to him, you're not going to spend a penny in January, are you? And he'll say, I'll spend 200 million. But that tends to be the way he operates.
But is that because he backs himself, though? He had a very hard act to follow at Liverpool, and it's, it takes a self-confident and self-assured person to come in, and back yourself to do that.
That's it. He does seem very confident, very assured in his own ability. And when you're the manager of Liverpool or the head coach, I guess, when you've got to that level in your profession, you have this gravitas about you, don't you? So it's been an adjustment for us as journalists, I think, because you could ask Jurgen Klopp something, they give you 2 minutes, and then you look at you watch thing, we'll run out of time here. We're only getting 5 minutes with him, and he's already answered, But I think supporters are quite enjoying a different voice and some of the things that he's had to say.
I am enjoying the shorter answers, to be honest. It's less to
easier to transcribe.
Yeah. I mean, what's impressed you most about Slot in the first 3 games, Theo?
Just that confidence. Like, he didn't have to come out and be anything he wasn't. He knows his strengths, knows his weaknesses, and he's sticking by what he is as a person, what he is as a head coach. He is very much a head coach. You can see that by the confidence, and when he speaks about football, when he speaks about tactics, you're not going to need to knock him off his game there. But he doesn't want to maybe make headlines for the wrong reasons as well. He doesn't want to come out and try too hard, do these sound bites. It is very much judge me by what my team is doing on the pitch, and that's what they're doing so well at the moment. They're playing really good football. It seems to have been, I'm not going to say it's better than what we saw under Jurgen Klopp, but it's nice having that tweak to it. The fact they are passing it around a bit more, it's not as gung-ho, it is a bit more controlled defensively, and the players just seem to be enjoying it as well. The fact that he's seen something that was so successful, tweaked it, and it's still successful. Like, we're only 3 games in, but that's like a really positive sign. Obviously, there are going to be knocks in the season. They're not going to win every single game. And then it's how they respond to that. If he can pick them up again, because we know Jurgen Klopp was so motivational. They could be 3-0 down in Champions League semi-final to Barcelona and still win. It's whether Arne Slot's got that in his locker behind the scenes. But you won't find out until he's put in that position. So all you can do is judge him on what we've seen so far. And signs are good.
I think that has been the biggest thing for me, is how quickly the ideas have come across. It's been not sweeping changes, but enough to notice in terms of the 2 more sitting midfielders now with a more traditional number 10. And the idea that they want to control rather than get caught up in the organised chaos, if you like. So many games last season were basketball games for Liverpool, weren't they, that they won because they had better players and better conditioning. This seems to be expend less energy, save that for when it's really needed. And I like the way he's making changes as well when games are won, bringing off big players who whose minutes are being managed more carefully, and hopefully that will lead to fewer injuries, which for me was still the biggest issues that undercut Liverpool last year.
And that's something we got to mention as well, isn't it? The fact that Jones is the only one who's actually got an injury on Liverpool duty so far.
Yeah,
touch wood. But like we've seen pre-season before, when you got Oxlade-Chamberlain get struck down, Sturridge get struck down, Keita.
Summer of 2022 was particularly bad, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So the fact that so far that those changes in the fitness side, the change of style, has seemed to be good, it's a good thing. But you just got to hope it lasts the full season.
Yeah, and he will be tested once he starts losing players to injuries, and Liverpool will. You know, it's rare for any team to not go through a bit of an injury crisis, even if that's in inverted commas.
It's part of the reason why Arsenal can challenge for titles, because they rarely seem to get it.
Yeah. But whether that's part of their, whether they've got good fitness or training regimes, I don't know. Maybe Liverpool feel like they've made some changes in this summer that might help them in that regard. But for me, one of the most impressive things, I just think you see so many managers, don't you? And we've seen at Liverpool, not many managers will come in after a very successful manager like Klopp. They usually have something to rebuild. But we've seen at Liverpool, Souness came in after Dalglish and immediately tried to put his own stamp on things, started selling players, dropping players, changing players. And what I've really been impressed with about Slot is we've seen very little of that. He's come in, he's wanted to buy one or two, but backed himself if he hasn't got them, which he hasn't. And also we've seen him make one or two changes like Gravenberch and make that so far successfully.
Throw Konate in there as well.
Yeah,
he was hopeless in the Merseyside derby last year. It's no surprise to see him not get back in the team and Kwanzaa keep his place. But granted, injuries are part of that. But he's been brilliant since he's got in this season.
Yeah. So it's that I find very, very impressive. And I thought going up against United, going into that game, I went and walked the dog with my dad, and I was saying to my dad, if they can go a goal up in that game and then control it, I'd be really impressed. And I felt like they did exactly that. The United had a fast start. Liverpool weathered that within probably 5 to 10 minutes, settled down, looked much the better team. And it was funny, there was some talks about XG after the game, but United's chances came when Liverpool were 3-0 up, and United were really throwing a lot at it, but they weren't really. I don't necessarily think United ever had Liverpool under the cosh. Liverpool always looked fairly comfortable. And I just thought that was really impressive. And I just think it exposes where the two clubs are. I've watched a lot of Neville and Carragher since. It's been quite satisfying to watch that debate. And I even thought, like I said to you, Gorst, the other day in the office, I felt that United parading Ugarte around the pitch before kick-off, it's just not something Liverpool do. I don't remember the last time Liverpool got a new signing in and said, let's stick him on the pitch and because immediately what that says to your fan base is this guy's going to be good and he's going to transform.
Yeah.
And all the talk was during the game though and after the game was Casemiro's finished, but this guy will sort it out. And immediately you're putting pressure on a new signing and making it all about him. And I really like that Liverpool don't do that. And yeah, people can be frustrated that they didn't get certain players in the summer, but the good thing about Liverpool and the good thing about Slot so far is they've not made it all about transfers. It's not under Ten Hag at United. It always feels like the next one will solve us, the next one will sort it. And Liverpool don't have that approach, and that's been really impressive. And I think Carragher's spot on when he says United sort of bottled a big decision in the summer with Ten Hag, and Liverpool got a big decision right when they replaced Klopp. So
you can take it back to 2 years as well. Like Liverpool lose that friendly to United 4-0, and you think it's just a friendly. But then they go and lose at Old Trafford when United had just been spanked. Was it by Brentford? Like the third game of the season. So, okay, we're not great here. We're in for a tough season. 2 years on, it's United who look like nothing's changed. They're going to have a difficult year. It is just waiting for Ten Hag to get sacked. Van Nistelrooy probably to take over at some point. But Liverpool, positive signs there. And they've gone in, they've schooled them completely. It's like, right, now we can push on. Now we can look up, we can be in a title race. It's not a case of settling for fourth, which I'm sure we'd have all taken when Slot was appointed and we knew Klopp was going. Now you are thinking title race. Not necessarily win it, but challenge City for a good go.
I mean, it's early days, so we could look silly here, but I think it just speaks volumes about Liverpool's structure and that they've changed a very big. They're sort of navigating a very big change in the club's history in terms of Klopp to Slot.
Yeah,
and you saw people like Neville say Liverpool would finish outside the top four, and I found that a bit wild to hear him say that. And I think he said that very much with his Man United fan hat on, but you can see why people would think that going through such a transition. But for Liverpool to do it without They haven't lost big players. They've kept everything quite similar. There's not a different vibe around the club. I just think it's been very impressive, and that United game was really satisfying all round because of that.
Yeah, I mean, the first two games, Liverpool winning 2-0 against Ipswich and then Brentford at home, they're not like massively spectacular results, are they? Games Liverpool should be winning, and they have, without getting out of second gear, really. But last Sunday was quite big because Liverpool have traditionally struggled at Old Trafford. We know it was the sort of, where the wheels started to come off last season, whether that was the FA Cup or Premier League. I think we can sort of put a ring around those games as where it started to go wrong, and Liverpool handled the occasion superbly. They're a much better team than United. They're better coached already, and they showed that on the day and didn't let United get a sniff of it really at the end. I think that was the most impressive thing, that they went 1-0 up and then went 2-0 up rather than sort of retreating, allowing United to get the crowd behind them and get a foothold in the game, and Liverpool took the win out of the sails, went in 2-0 up and then just controlled it.
Yeah, hopefully this international break hasn't come at a bad time for them, and they can continue after the international break. Did you name a NordVPN person of the week on Monday?
Did we?
Did you? Come on. Our
trying
producer's nodding.
Gravenberch, yeah.
Gravenberch, yeah.
Maybe deserved it after Sunday's results. We do it on a Monday though, don't we?
Yeah, as some said, did you name one on Monday?
Yeah.
So if they forgot, we'd do it now.
So we're not doing it today,
No. So, very positive vibes at Liverpool now, and hopefully they can get some of those contracts sorted and continue. So we'll be back on Monday to think of more international break
Talk about
ideas.
United again,
Talk about United till the cows come home, like you said.
Talk about Finch.
Talk about Finch. Maybe we'll try and get a little live performance from Doyle, get him to bring his bass in.
He's not the singer though, is he? So.
Be like David Brent's training day. Until then, thanks for listening. Give us a like, subscribe. Please give us some stars if you listen on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. And thanks for all your support, and we'll see you on Monday. Ta-ra.